Wilder Show podcast. I'm Scott. That's no Lauren today. Like when you go to class and the TA is there, but not the prof. Like when you go to church and some guy, usually a guy, but not your guy. So you think, well, I'm already dressed up. I'm already here. I woke up, so I guess I'll stay. Don't worry, she'll be back, I think. Instagram, you find us on Instagram. You just search Wilder Show Pod. And you'll find it and like it and all that. If you want to send us an email, just email to podcast@wildershow.com. The Wilder Show podcast drops Tuesdays and Fridays at 6 a.m. Central Time on Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeart, Amazon, YouTube, and, wherever you get your podcasts. So, like, rate, follow, subscribe, and share. Much to get into today. And just one thing before we get to anything in the news, other things in the news. Did you see the situation on Saturday at the Denver airport? It was an American Airlines plane that was about to take off, and something caught on fire. The landing gear or something. The wheels caught on fire. They're up to 134 miles an hour, which is just shy of taking off. And the pilots radioed back to the air traffic controllers, abort, and they aborted the flight. And then they had to deploy those emergency little ramps that you jump out, the inflatable raft ramps, and people were, jumping out and then falling down and, scooting off like the slide at the playground when you were a kid and getting out of the way quickly, usually because someone else was right behind you. And these are people that are getting off of a plane that was filling with smoke, a plane that was on fire. What are we told about if you have to evacuate a plane? What are we told? What are you told? You're told only grab your carry-on if there's something important in it, and make sure you get your backpack and your laptop and your iPad and your phone before you exit the plane, which is, no, that's not what we're told. We're told, get out, leave all your stuff behind. So what? This is sad. It's not even funny. What were people doing? They were carrying all their stuff. And if you're carrying all your stuff, I fly enough to have some concern over this. If you're carrying all your stuff, if you stopped to get your stuff, your carry-on bag, your stuff that's below the seat in front of you, there's stuff in the seat back in front of you, if you've stopped to do that, you're delaying other people from getting off a plane. Now, I know your laptop is important, and I know all the stuff you have in your carry-on is crucial, but in my view, it's not more important than my life. And my stuff, while important to me, is probably not more important than your life. So when you watch this video, if you've seen it, you've probably already seen it. But when you see it, you think, okay, what the heck? When you get off a plane, when you evacuate a plane, you evacuate a plane. You leave your stuff behind. Or you're going to be leaving people behind. And nobody died. I think there was an injury. Usually those injuries, when you evacuate a plane on one of those slides or those ramps, happen with people's backs. They don't step out far enough and then drop onto the inflated thing. They think they put their back or their head back, and it strikes, the metal step there. I don't know if that's the case this time, but that's usually what happens. So, just a reminder, if you fly, it's unlikely. Everybody in that, because I'm in it many times. I'm in the exit row many times. And they come along and they say, okay, take your headphones out. I need a verbal yes to the question I'm about to ask you. If it comes in, yes, 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 yes. And you, yes, 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 yes. And they move on. And they say, check it out. It's here in the thing. You can read more about it. And sometimes I've read it, but usually I think, if it comes to it, somebody's going to tell me what to do and it'll be okay. But we all probably should do better. If we're going to, take on that role of being in that, it's just in exchange for your extra leg room. That seems like a fair exchange. We'll give you leg room for a 4.5-hour flight if you will simply say yes to something that is not likely to happen, but if it does happen, please know what to do. That seems like a fair exchange. Anyway, that is what happened over the weekend. And just a reminder, if you have to evacuate a plane, leave your stuff behind. Thank you, and welcome aboard. Okay, we're going to talk about the, remember Fire Aid? The Fire Aid, there was a concert, lots of stars, bunches, and they raised money for the people there in the Palisades, all that horrible wildfires that happened in California. We got to get to that, and we will in a second. But first, starvation in Gaza. Now, this is a complicated story, talking about what's going on between Israel and Hamas and how it impacts the people of Gaza. And just recently, yesterday, President Trump parted ways with Benjamin Netanyahu and said, you know what? Yeah, it is starvation. There's real starvation going on in Gaza, and we're going to do something about it. The IDF, the Israeli Defense Forces, began what is called a limited pause in fighting in 3 of the populated areas of Gaza. That happened on Sunday for about 10 hours. Aid groups said, hey, that's not enough time to get everything through that we need to get through. The president's comments came in the middle of sort of mounting global outrage over what we are all seeing on television. Anytime the news is saying, a warning, the images we are about to show you are disturbing. And most people, I think sadly, most people say, ooh, wait, shut up. I want to watch this. And it turns out to be something really is pretty stark. The president was in Scotland, said he will set up food centers. U.S. will set up food centers in Gaza. And, quote, we have to get the kids fed, he said. Disagreed with Benjamin Netanyahu, his assessment that there is no starvation in Gaza. Look, clearly there is starvation in Gaza. And this is where it gets complicated. There is starvation going on in Gaza. There also is aid being sent to Gaza. There is also food that is making it into Gaza. You say, wait a minute. If there's starvation, that's the need. And if people are sending the food, and that's the solution, and it's actually getting into Gaza, why are people, and the ones that make it on the news are always kids, why are people starving? Great question, complicated answer. I've spent more than a decade working on behalf of children that are suffering from what's called severe acute malnutrition. This is not hungry children. These are not children that are food insufficient. These are children that are on the brink of death. And I have done that in Africa. I've done that in other parts of the world. I've been to Africa many, many times for this purpose. So I've seen it in person. I've seen it up close. I know that it exists. I know how you can stave it off. And I also know how it can be thwarted. Now, this is a little bit complicated to get into this story, and there are tentacles to the story that we won't get into here. But in 2001, actually on September 11th, 2001, I was in North Korea. Now, North Korea is a very dark place in all the ways you could think of the word dark. It is dark spiritually. It is dark socially. It is dark logistically. If you look at a map of electricity at nighttime, North Korea stands out because there's almost no electricity. The only thing that people who live there, the only thing they know is what they are told by their leader. They have no internet. They have no TV. They have no radio. There are exactly two television channels there, Channel 1 and Channel 2, and they both serve only to promote the propaganda of the regime. I've been to the marketplaces there. I've seen things there. When you go to a marketplace in a place like North Korea or some other communist countries, and this applies to what we're talking about Gaza, and we'll get to that in a second. When you go to some of the marketplaces in North Korea, you would see big 200-pound bags of rice, burlap bags that have USAID on it, right? International relief that has been sent to North Korea for starving people. So why are those in the marketplace? Those are intercepted by the government. And then they are taken to the marketplace and they are sold to the people who can't afford them. Now, that is not the purpose of international food relief. It is not intended to go to the government to then be sold to give profit to the government to, in the case of North Korea, to go to funding weapons, usually weapons of mass destruction. That's not why it's being sent. It's being sent for the people. Now, I can tell you, I know this happens because the night before we crossed the river into North Korea, we had dinner at a farm with a Chinese man who had hired two illegal aliens, North Koreans, who had crossed over to work in China at this man's farm. And they worked at this man's farm for 1 year for no pay. And at the end of the year, they would be given their money and they could go back to North Korea to their family. And they could use that money to live off for 3 years. So they would risk their lives to come across the border from North Korea into China. They worked on this farm. They never slept at the farm. They slept out in the forest every night. In case the farm was raided, they would not be found. So we're having dinner with a North Korean soldier and his father and the Chinese man who owned the farm that was employing these two men. And the next day we were going to cross the river into North Korea. Now, this man, that obviously neither North Korean spoke English, and the Chinese farmer did not speak English. But we had a person with us, a Chinese person with us that spoke both Korean and Chinese or Mandarin. And after we had left this meal where we had at this farm, our interpreter told us they hate Americans. They've been raised to hate Americans. They've been raised to want to kill Americans because they've been told by the government that there's rice that has come in to feed the starving people, but the Americans have sunk it at the harbor. Now, in reality, the rice did come in from America, and yet it was taken by the government, and it was sold in the marketplace for profit that then could be used for weapons or whatever is the desire of the dear leader of the moment. In this case, it's Kim Jong-un. And that time it was Kim Jong-il. And his dad, Kim Il-sung, was the great dear leader born about 100 years ago. So how does that relate to this? The charge has been that Hamas is stealing the food that is meant for starving Gazans. The food that is supposed to go to the people of Gaza, that to save their lives, has been stolen by Hamas. Stolen, given to their people, sold for money, or just let to rot. That is the charge. Now, I don't know, and I don't think we can know exactly what has happened. I tell you that story only to tell you that it does happen. I've seen it. I know that it happens. It's not an opinion. It's an experience. I know that it happens. So hopefully there's a limited pause in fighting. The president says he's seen the images on TV. Those children look very hungry. Duh. He later said the scenes are real starvation. You can't fake that. And that's true. You can't fake that. They are capturing the stuff that is going to gain international sympathy. It doesn't mean necessarily what Israel is doing is wrong. It just might mean that Hamas is stealing food. So Israel has said again and again, we are not against the Palestinian people. The Palestinian people are held hostage by Hamas. Hamas is the enemy, not the Palestinian people. So when you see this about the news about the easing of restrictions in Gaza, tactical pauses, things like that, the Sunday aid deliveries, many people say are just a drop in the ocean, and we're reaching a tipping point or a make or break point in the hunger crisis. As always, it is children that are impacted first and worst. I've seen it. I have been there. I know exactly what they're talking about. I do know it exists. Where I have been and worked on this, it has been in places where the reason for the starvation is because of drought. You know, if there's a drought, that is not enough water, obviously, for people, but it also means it's not enough water for crops. And people eat crops, and their livestock eat crops, and not enough water for the livestock. And you sell crops and you sell livestock at market. And so there's a contagion effect that anytime there is a drought, it will lead to starvation. And those who are impacted first and worst are always the children. So I'm not saying don't be moved by what you see on the news. I'm saying see it in light of all the things that you know. And maybe this adds a little bit to what you know, what we all know as we look at it. But bottom line is, yes, children are victims. They did not decide to be born where they've been born. They have nothing to do with the political problems that are going on to the country. I do want there to be every effort made to make sure that children receive what they need to survive. No question about that. Other poor people, the elderly, I work all the time for these causes. I believe in these causes. However, sometimes we have to understand that the pictures that we see are not the complete story. Famine and malnutrition is happening right now in many, many countries. This is getting our attention because it has to do with Israel. And they want to say Israel is the cause of this. I don't know. But I do know that once you hit that tipping factor, the numbers go up very quickly. Famine and malnutrition, very quickly. And likewise, you can arrest those numbers very quickly by getting the proper nutrition, therapeutic food to children and infants that need it to make sure that they can survive. That is obviously my hope. That is my prayer. But it makes me a little bit ill to see all of this used from a political standpoint. It can be true that aid is being sent. It can be true that aid is being delivered. It can also be true that that aid is not getting to the people that need it the most for political reasons, as is the case in North Korea, even at this moment, as is the case in many parts of the world, perhaps including in Gaza with Hamas, making sure that that aid does not get to the people that need it in Gaza. And then the images that are broadcast around the world can manipulate people to do what they might otherwise not do. I'm just saying the aid can get there, but it has to ultimately get there to the people that need it the most. I know we've had a lot of interest, obviously, in the fundraising that took place for the floods in Texas, but have you seen the talk about? Was it called Fire Aid? Was it called Fire Aid? Wildfire relief money? Fire Aid, I think. Fire Aid raised $100 million. Now, this was back, they had all the stars that sang. When it happens in L.A., it's like, oh, these are our own people. We have to stand up for L.A., and that's fine. Stand up for everybody. But the performers at the two-venue benefit included Stevie Nicks, Rod Stewart, Graham Nash, Stephen Stills, Sting, Joni Mitchell, Black Crowes, Slash, Green Day, surviving members of Nirvana in a reunion. And it raised $100 million. And the question is, where did January's fire aid $100 million go? Those people in the Palisades, lost everything. So where did it go? Where did that money go? I think a lot of times you're probably like me. When you see something that happens, you wonder, I don't know, maybe you wonder, what can I do and who can I trust? That's good. What can I do? Could I do something? Could I donate $10 or whatever amount? But then can we trust where we give it? That's sort of an important point. Not just what can I do, but who can I trust? And that is sort of what's happened here with this. Most people believed, and I don't know whether there was little tiny print on the TV that said otherwise, but most people believed that the money they were giving was going to go to benefit the people who were impacted by the fire, people who lost their homes or lost their businesses, that those would be the people who then would be receiving some grants or some, interest-free loans or something. That would come in that way, that the money that I give would go to the people. Here's a picture of someone hurting. Here's a picture of someone walking down their street, and everything is gone. So we're interviewing them, and then we cut to Stevie Nicks singing, and then somebody says, "Won't you give?" And you say, "Absolutely. I want those people to have their house back." But what you might not know is the money didn't go to individuals. It went to what's called NGOs, or non-government organizations. Now, what are NGOs? What's an example of an NGO? The Red Cross. The Red Cross is an NGO. The Red Crescent in some parts of the world, that's an NGO. The Salvation Army is an NGO. But there are lots of ones you've never heard of, that I've never heard of, that are also NGOs, non-government organizations. These are nonprofit organizations that are set up to do, different things, and then they have an obligation to do those things. And so, in looking at where did the money go, the $100 million, where did it go? It went to places like Pathways LA. Okay, that's an NGO. Pathways LA. They reach primarily single-parent families with median family income of $12,000. So there you go. That's a good thing. And the executive pay there is $300,000. But another nonprofit, After the Fire, it's located in Sonoma. And here's what they say about themselves: we coach, we convene, we collaborate, we advocate. In 2022, the 990 form, that's a government IRS form, listed $120,000 in compensation for the executive director with net assets of $475,000. A nonprofit receiving money was California Native Vote Project, which is sponsored by another nonprofit called Community Partners. Quote, "The mission is to achieve justice and self-determination for Native American communities through multi-generational power building, organizing, and civil engagement." That has nothing to do with fire relief. Nothing. How about ADEPSCO? It's Instituto de Educación Popular del Sur La California. They received fire aid money. Its mission is to create more humane and democratic society by responding to the needs and problems of disenfranchised people through leadership development and educational programs based on popular education methodology. Specifically, they say, our goal is to organize and educate immigrants, read that, illegal immigrants, concerned with solving problems in their own communities. The executive compensation was $111,408, but other salaries and wages were $1.23 million, which is about 60% of the nonprofit's revenue. So I know it'd be like sort of just like sin sniffing, just finding out problems and pointing out bad things. But it's a reminder that when you give, to know specifically, it's not enough to feel like you did something good. It's not enough for these artists to feel like they did something good. It's not enough for fire aid to feel like they did something good. The people who had their houses burned to the ground don't give a you know what about whether you feel you did something good. They care about whether you are doing something good. But we live in a world where it's enough to want to be a person who seems like they're doing something good because it seems like that they care. That's not enough. It is all about the doing. The doing is the proof that the feeling is real. If you care, you don't just look. If I care about people in Texas who had everything washed away and lost their loved ones to the flood, what if I took $100? I took 5 20s and I'm driving down LBJ and I roll the window down and I throw it in the air. It doesn't do any good. It doesn't matter what I feel that I've done. It didn't do any good. It's meaningless. And this is it's a very liberal philosophy to remember I feel your pain. I feel your pain. When Bill Clinton used to put that finger out there like that, just to bite that bottom lip and just say, I feel your pain. I feel your pain. Who cares if you feel my pain? What are you doing to alleviate my pain? What are you doing? I don't care about how you feel. I don't care what you think. I don't care what you're outraged by. I care about what you do. What do you do? It is all about the doing. So I just a little caveat, as we all want to do. We don't want to just feel that we've done something. We actually want to do something. Look, your inclination, I don't want to give you a reason not to do a good thing. Your inclination to want to care and do something good is a good thing. Don't not do that. Just be a little bit smart. Just think, okay, who can, not just what can I do, but who can I trust? If you want a third-party observer on these kinds of things, charitynavigator.org. charitynavigator.org. If you'll go there, you might be really surprised that the places you've given money to for a long time, where they stand and different things, transparency, it's a 4-star rating, it's a 3-star rating, 2-star rating, where they stand on transparency, all those kinds of things. But charitynavigator.org is a really good starting point. And I'm not saying you couldn't find reasons why you want to give to a 3-star charity. It's fine. You might have other reasons why you want to do that. But it's a sort of it will tell you things you don't know before you give money. And you just might find that some of the places where you've given money before, you go, I wish I'd known that. So your inclination, my inclination to do good, yes. To be compassionate, yes. To have our compassion bubble over into action, to give, absolutely. But you don't want to just roll the window down on 121 or on LBJ and just toss your money out the window. You want it to go for the purpose that you intend. That's all I would say. Oh, it is time for Scattershoot. Let's go. Wilder Show Scattershoot. Before we get anything else, Tampa hit 100 degrees, the triple digits for the first time in recorded weather history. That happened on Sunday. Isn't that amazing? I mean, not amazing that they hit it. Well, maybe it is. I mean, obviously it is. It's never happened before. But I would have thought that they would already have hit 100 degrees ever, but never have they. 99 was obviously the previous record, and it was broken on Sunday about 3:30 local time. Man, Tampa is like a sweatbox. It can be 73 degrees in Tampa. And if you're walking across a parking lot at 8 o'clock in the morning, sun's not even really up, not even cooking yet. And man, you're drenching wet by the time you get to the car. The humidity is just insane in Tampa. So, not making light of it. I know it can be a huge health risk, but welcome to Hades, Tampa. Welcome to the triple-digit club. Oh, and I have to tell you, Lauren is off today, but don't worry, she'll be back. I mean, I'm off almost every day. Even when I'm here, I'm off. She's on, she's just not here. So she will be back for Friday's Wilder Show podcast. We have talked about this before. There are many reasons why that I'm glad I'm not the father of a child today. It's a different day today, than it was 60, 50, 40 years ago, 35 years ago, 30 years ago. Different day. Different challenges. You have social media, all kinds of things. And really, who knows what kind of things? Let's say you have a kid today, like just now, like my grandson. Who knows what challenges are going to be in 12 years when those that are newly born are tweeners, are, almost 13. Who knows what it's going to be like? I mean, hopefully it'd be good, but you never know. I would have thought it would have been good, but I look at the kids born, around 2000, and all of a sudden cell phones and social media and all that came in about 2010, 2012, 2011, 2013, and what that has meant. The younger a child is when they get a smartphone, the more likely they'll have mental health challenges. This is not me. Study tracking over 100,000 people aged 18 to 24. 18 to 24. Examine the effects of childhood smartphone ownership on their now adult mental health. So 18 to 24. The oldest in that category would have been born in 2001, just the time I was talking about. 2001 to 2008, 9, somewhere in there. Those who got smartphones before age 13 showed a much higher rate, of suicidal thoughts, of aggression, and had emotional struggles. Girls, as you might imagine, girls were especially affected. 48% of those who got phones at age 5 to 6 reporting suicidal thoughts, compared to 28% who got those phones at 13. Look, there may be a reason to get a kid a phone at 5 years old. I can't imagine, except to have a babysitter for the parent who really would like to do their own phone work. But a smartphone, I can't imagine why. Researchers urge policy changes, recommending age restrictions and mandatory digital literacy training to protect developing minds. None of that matters if you don't have parents that do what they're supposed to do. And if you have parents who do what they're supposed to do, they may not need any of that digital literacy training. Half of young women who received their first cell phone at age 5 or 6 now report having suicidal thoughts. New study, 100,000 young adults tracked across the globe reveals this pattern that should, they say, alarm every parent. The younger children are when they get their first smartphone, the worse their mental health becomes by early adulthood. But they really want the phone now. All their friends have phones. All their friends have suicidal thoughts at the age of 24. The research published this month in the Journal of Human Development and Capabilities, who knew, shows overall mental well-being scores plummeted as smartphone ownership age drops. What's more, the magnitude is substantial, according to the researchers. If current trends for increasingly younger smartphone ownership and social media access continue, projections from this data suggest that this factor alone could be responsible for mental distress such as suicidal thoughts, dissociation from reality, and diminished functioning such as emotional control, resilience in nearly a third of the next generation. This doesn't seem hard. This doesn't seem hard to me. It doesn't. Well, it seems really hard to say no. A lot of parents don't want to say no, and I get that. And as I already said, I'm glad I'm not in that position. I'm really glad I'm not in the position to have to make these kinds of decisions. My gut says, and we've talked, I think, on the podcast before, about landline parties, about families that get landlines. It's like your kids' friends, all of the parents agree to get landlines. And the kids can talk all they want on the phone, but they talk in the house, on the phone. They're not smartphones. Sort of a middle ground, I think. I have no problem with that. I don't want to deny kids the access to their friends and all that. I understand. You can't live in the 1970s. However, we should learn what we can learn about what it means if a child is given a smartphone at a young age. You know, I don't know what it's like for you, but the stuff that sometimes you're fed, you know, I've searched some stuff about AI. And because I've searched some stuff about AI, I'm getting fed a lot of stuff about AI that is not stuff that I've searched. And can you imagine if that's a kid? If the kid has a cell phone and the kid has a project in school and they search something, and then all of a sudden they're fed a bunch of things. They didn't maybe seek out any of those things, but they're fed a bunch of things. It just seems to me the risk is great. I don't think parents would regret doing less. And again, you know, it's your kid, it's your grandkid. Well, I know your grandkid. I mean, you're not in charge of your grandkid. I'm not in charge of my grandkid. But it's your child. If you're a parent, it's your child. You're going to decide what's right for your child. And I'm not saying that I know what it is right. I am saying do a little homework, do a little research. In some ways, it sort of falls under the category of, I mean, it's different in so many ways. But we've all said this phrase before. You know, your child needs a parent, not a friend. You know, a lot of parents want to be their kid's friend. And I've always felt like if you want to be your kid's friend for the long haul, you better be their parent today. Now, it doesn't guarantee you'll be their friend in the future. There's no guarantee of that. But I'll tell you one thing I can pretty much guarantee. If you're their friend today, you won't be their friend as they get to be older. Because what they need right now, what they don't know that they want right now, is a parent. And a parent sometimes has to say no. And a parent sometimes has to not give lots of excuses and reasons and try and bend the kids around so that they agree. Sometimes it's just because I'm me and you're you. I'm the parent. I'm the dad. You're not. And we're not doing that. And that's going to have to be enough. I know that's really hard-edged, old school way of thinking, but I'm telling you, I think it's right. I do. Where are people most stressed? In cities, where are people most stressed? Struggling to keep it together. Maybe not keep up, maybe just keep it together. Where are those? I have those cities. America's most stressed cities. Where do you think your city falls or your area falls? There are a lot of different reasons why one might be stressed in a city, as you might imagine. I mean, there are different categories of stress. You have, work stress, What's the work environment like? Can you get a job? Is it easy to get a good job? Or are people perpetually underemployed? Having a job sometimes is not enough. It's got to be a job that, maybe anybody could go get a job, but is it a job that is, sustaining, not just a job, a part-time job at a restaurant? It's a job that can support you. And of course, part of that also then becomes financial stress. What is the financial stress in a city? Family stress, health and safety stress. If you live in a particularly dangerous city, you might go, maybe that makes me very stressful. I'll give you an example. Memphis, Tennessee. Memphis, Tennessee is not the most stressed city in America. However, it is, when it comes to safety risk, the number one. They are number one. It's not a number one you want. They are number one. People who live in Memphis are stressed more than any other city in the country because of safety issues. Financial, that would be Cleveland, Ohio. Number one. They are number one. Family stress, I think kind of surprisingly, Gulfport, Mississippi. So you combine all four of those, you get a total score. The total score, what are the top 10 most stressed cities in America? Let's start with this area. Dallas, Texas is 31, ranks 31. Arlington, Texas is 39. El Paso, Texas is 50. Fort Worth, Texas is 71. So really good job, Fort Worth. Less so Dallas. Arlington, good. El Paso, okay. All right, the top 10. What are the top 10 most stressed cities? And we're just going by the combined score. We're not going by, I told you the particulars in those categories. So number 10, Jackson, Mississippi. Their overall ranking is a 53.6. It's not good. Okay, you don't want to be a 53.6. Number 9 is Birmingham, Alabama. Not a surprise. Birmingham, Alabama. Toledo, Ohio, number 8. Number 7 is Philadelphia. Number 6 is Shreveport. Number 5, while number 1 on safety, that is bad, number 1, on safety stress, they are number 5 overall, is Memphis. While number 1 on family stress rank, Gulfport, Mississippi is number 4 overall. Baltimore, Maryland, and financial stress, number 1 is Cleveland, Ohio, but overall they're number 2. The number 1 most stressed city in America is Detroit, Michigan. Man, have you been to Detroit? Have you been to 8 Mile? So let's go to the bottom of the list. The least stressed. Oh, this is really interesting. The least stressed, let's take the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. The 10th least stressed cities in America would be Boise, Idaho, is the 10th least stressed. Overland Park, Kansas, number 9. Lincoln, Nebraska, number 8. Bismarck, North Dakota, Fargo, North Dakota, Burlington, Vermont, Irvine, California. That's surprising. Sioux Falls, South Dakota. The number 2 least stressed city in America is Fremont, California. Can I tell you, I've been to Fremont, California, I think a couple of times this year, and it's a little stressful. It's a little stressful. I got a car broken into in Fremont, California. It's California. The number 1 least stressed city in America is South Burlington, Vermont. There you go. There are your lists. Surprising. Okay, Lauren will be back. Yeah, everything's unmoored. There's no anchor. Nothing seems right. You know what I'm saying? But she'll be back for the next podcast. And that is The Wilder Show Podcast. Instagram, find us on Instagram. It's Wilder Show Pod. You'll search it, you'll find it, you'll like it, you'll share it. We appreciate that. If you want to send us email, just send email to podcast@wildershow.com. The Wilder Show Podcast drops Tuesdays and Fridays at 6 a.m. Central Time or before on Spotify, Apple Podcast, iHeart, Amazon, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. So like, rate, follow, subscribe, and share. And thank you, Ghost of Lauren. And we will see you next time.
Dum